You know, a lot of people get upset at me and say I attack Janeway because she never does anything right. And that's true, because she rarely does. But there are times when Janeway is a great captain. Let's take a look at one of those times. I've talked about it before, but the more I watch Star Trek, the more I agree with Red Letter Media that a lot of the episodes are just horror stories. I think this is wonderfully shown in Voyager's DeadLock. The episode starts with a pregnant woman that is due any minute doing engineering work, getting down in the dirt and being told to fix this and that. So ultimately, another day in the life when under the rule of Janeway. However, doing this work, the woman goes into labor. Gee, can you believe someone doing manual work when you're very pregnant can induce a baby? Good thing she wasn't scrubbing the manifold or somewhere alone high up. I guess they don't have leave for pregnant women. The crew is abuzz and nervous with the incoming baby. Unfortunately, the bridge crew realizes that they would be heading into Vidian space, which is something any ship with families on board would be happy to see. Tom is able to find a plasma drift, and the captain orders the ship to use it so that they can hide their signature from the Vidians. Unfortunately, after exiting the plasma drift, the ship begins to lose power, and shortly after that, they start taking massive damage from proton bursts. There was an idea to originally utilize proton bursts to fix the issue with the leak, but they weren't able to implement it. They are unable to contact engineering after 3 EPS conduits blow out. The safest place on Earth, a Starfleet vessel where families can roam and frolic free, is getting the living hell beat out of it, with Deck 15 having a breach and no force fields to stop every man, woman, and child from being sucked out into the coldness of space, where they will experience the most horrific death you could imagine. Harry goes down to Deck 15 with an idea that could stabilize and fix the force fields, but is killed in the process. And I'm sure he's not coming back at all. This was a real death. At the same time, the baby is born, but unfortunately dies due to the medical bay being damaged. Though, through all of this, we do get to see Janeway in her element. The ship being under constant attack, she is able to bring both her command and science background into it to take care of these issues. She not only keeps the ship running with command and control directives and managing of assets, but assists in the tech part to try and stop what is occurring to the ship. We even get a bit more about who she is. We get to see her character more in depth. When she is hurt badly, at least according to dialogue, she is stubborn and refuses any kind of help. The scene is done extraordinarily well, and it shows a strong leader with her background actually making sense, but with her also being human. I've spoken of this a few times, but one of the core concepts of the hero, the good guy, is that they have a flaw that at face value is a good quality, but they take that quality to an extreme. For Janeway, her love of her ship and her crew push her to continue to work when she probably shouldn't, even at the expense of her own mental health. It's a flaw, and it's one that is in character for her, and again, just done excellently. In fact, this good quality that becomes a flaw almost causes her to kill herself as she tries to save the bridge. It's all in vain, however, as the bridge falls and they have to evacuate. For those who have watched this episode, you know that through a subspace field and scientific gobbledygook, there are actually 2 Voyagers that are attached. After leaving the drift, warp drive fails, and in an attempt to fix it, one Voyager begins running the proton burst, which then begins destroying the other Voyager, which is how we got here. The ships were duplicated because apparently you can duplicate matter, but not antimatter, so the 2 vessels are linked at the warp drive. Ultimately, the 2 vessels are able to link up and communicate after some fancy technical work. They do attempt to merge the ship together, but it fails, and now the unharmed Voyager has a tough choice. Begin the proton burst to save their ship, or do nothing, and ultimately both ships will be without power and everyone dies. Janeway comments on how she can't unilaterally make the decision and decides to go talk to the other Janeway. Again, this is taking a character, taking Janeway that sees her situation, doesn't freak out over a ticking time bomb dilemma, and tries to find a way to save everyone. It's very Starfleet, it's very science officer, it's very command officer, and it's very well done. Janeway talks to her counterpart in what I think is an excellently done scene. In fact, it's really hard to tell where they edited the things together. The 2 discuss splitting the ship apart, which won't work. They also discuss evacuations into the good Voyager, which also won't work. Both of these options would result in the destruction of both ships. The Janeway with the Voyager that hasn't been beat to hell tries to object, but none of that will be had. Jesus Christ, writing this is getting difficult to do. I'm trying to figure out how to explain which Janeway is which. I need to just give them a number. There is an idea to merge the 2 back together through a different method, but they won't be able to initiate it. A Vidian ship pulls out of warp detecting them and is able to attack the ship that hasn't sustained any damage. The weapons were taken offline due to the proton burst from the good Voyager, and it would take several hours to get them back on. Because when you don't have warp, taking your weapons offline is just the smart thing. As the Vidians continue their attack, only the Voyager that wasn't damaged by Proton's bursts is hit. They then begin to board that Voyager and start harvesting the organs of the crew that are still alive. Thank God Starfleet believes that it's okay that families should be on their ships, or this might be horrifying. Janeway, on the ship being boarded, wanting to defend the ship that wasn't being boarded, orders the self-destruct. Apparently Vidians can't hear audio alarms, which you think would resonate throughout the ship, even if it's only once when they set it to silent alarm. In fact, we even hear it on the bridge. And someone will probably argue that it was meant to be on the bridge alone, but man, that's a big FU to the rest of the crew. If someone can activate the self-destruct on the bridge, and only it can be heard on the bridge, that seems like a horrific thing. What if the bridge is taken over and they activate the self-destruct and leave? And of course, the Vidians don't detect when the ship is going critical, though Klingons couldn't do that either, so I guess I'm being a little unfair on that. The Janeway of the ship that is being boarded sends Harry Kim with the Wildman baby onto the damaged Voyager so that both will survive. When Janeway orders Harry to go get the baby, I think it's one of the most moving parts of the episode, if not one of the more moving scenes in Voyager. As the Vidians make it onto the bridge, Voyager explodes, destroying the Vidian ship, yet not the other Voyager. I guess warp core breaches only move up now. And there you have it. An actual episode where it makes a lot of sense. She was a strong leader, she knew exactly what she was doing, and she made the right calls. Both Janeways, I think, in this instance, did what they had to do, and it really showed in the episode. Except for the fact at the end where she acts like everything is fine. First off, she goes off and starts talking about how she doesn't know if she wants to blow up the ship or not. And you know, that makes sense. Have some self-reflection. Then she talks to Harry. Not her Harry, by the way. A duplicate Harry who brought a duplicate child. A child died, by the way. A ton of people died. And all of a sudden, it's like it's just a part of this being Starfleet. It's a part of the uniform. Who the fuck makes all this stuff?